you can see behind me, the mist is rising off the 5.5-mile roller coaster of Forest and Hill terrain here in Somerset as the cars line up at the start line to begin round 5 of the Terrafirma All-Wheel Drive Championship.
So, 9 runs ahead of the cruise today, and it will be an ideal start for round 1 winner Steve Hyatt. He settles into the pace at the front before taking hold of the lead on run 3. For event sponsor James Tennant, it would be second place after 3 runs. Joint fastest time on the first 2 runs of the day would have set him up for a good lead had it not been for Hyatt's great pace on the 3rd run. But it could have been a very different story if this little off-road excursion had gone a little differently.
Oh, James, what was that this morning? It was a bit of landscaping.
Yes, I do a bit of landscape gardening on the side. It's a bit of a hobby of mine, really. But yeah, that was we did overcook it, and I think we were lucky to get away with that. So yeah, that was a warning for us, and we've put a second lap. We put together a lot better, and yeah, so far so good. It's nice to be up at the sharp end again for a change.
Luckily, you were there to call the notes and direction.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult when we can't see where we're going. It's a case of looking out the side, seeing the gate and calling a turn and just hoping for the best. Like, he does pretty well driving blind, it seems to be alright.
Sharing the joint fastest time with Tennant on run 1 was Andy DiGiulio in the Milner. No problems to report from the opening stages, and 3rd was a good place from which to mount an assault for the remainder of the day's racing.
What's this track like, the 5.5 roller coaster?
Really, really tight through the trees. Can't lapse your concentration. It's hard. Yeah.
For Greg Clemens, it would be just outside the podium places for now in 4th, but the pace was good, and he would be trying to chase down the leaders for the rest of the event now. A good clean run for Bob Parsons so far sees him settle into 5th. A good start to the event and a good place to make a push for the next few runs. And for Kenton Riley, it would be 6th, but that could have been very different if this 2-wheel moment had gone any further. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be the ideal start for Mark Potts that he had wanted. A misfire on the 2nd run was slowing him down, and 7th was as high as he could climb for now. Eighth taken at this stage by Jason Nichol. A steady run with no drama to report at this stage, although he would struggle with the slippery conditions on the course today. As would Richard Caddy, who ends run 3 in 9th place, the mud making it difficult to get the power down on some of the hillside sections of the course. And rounding off the top 10 at the end of 3 runs would be Owen Timms. On to the next few runs now, and it would still be Steve Hyatt that maintains the lead of the event after run 5. But that lead was now down to only 6 seconds. And chasing down Hyatt for that lead was Andy DiGiulio, and with experienced driver Rick Mann in the co-driver's seat this weekend, it was sure to be helping the times to improve, including a fastest time on run 5.
Andy, James not too happy you were catching him on that one.
Yeah, it's drying out, and the driest conditions do suit this car, so I think, race is on, isn't it?
We've been waiting for rain all day, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, I don't want rain. We don't want rain. I've had enough of rain.
More drama in this group of stages for James Tennant as the clutch on the car gives up towards the end of run 5. It wouldn't damage the times too much though, still second fastest and in third overall now.
James just about got stopped there. So you're happy to have another run complete?
I just lost the clutch, so yeah. Never mind. We'll see what we can do.
Would have made that run difficult?
No, I've only lost that at the last minute, so not too bad. But I think Andy was catching us that time, so I think we're dropping down a little bit, unfortunately. But But never mind. We're still going. There's still a couple to do, so we'll see what we can do.
No further landscaping done then?
No. We've gone off landscaping. We're moving into digging trenches now. So.
Some improvement for Bob Parsons sees him move up into 4th place now and enjoying every minute of it too.
Well, that was fast paced down to the finish. We obviously enjoyed that run.
Great fun. Had a wonderful time. I'd like to say me and Paul are the fastest racers here. Oh, sorry, the fattest racers here.
Despite the engine problems, it was still going the right way for Mark Potts as he moves up into 5th place.
So you were keeping the pressure on in front there?
Yeah, it's going all right. It's getting quite rough out there now. But, I think the quickest laps have been done. You won't be going any quicker now.
A small collision on run 5 would add just a bit of cosmetic damage to the car for Kenton Riley, but that would be all. No real problems with the times overall, and he remains in 6th place.
There was no holding back there coming over the finish line.
No, we had a little clip on the finish earlier, so we're keeping over to the left now, and it turns out to be a better line anyway, so...
How has the day been going overall for you?
Pretty good. Little shunt on that lap, but a bit of a dent in the wing, but no problems so far, touch wood.
Unfortunately for Greg Clement, it would be an engine problem on run 4 that would put his fight for a podium place on hold for now. Losing time in the stage, he drops down to 7th, but ready to push on in the afternoon.
Well, Greg, that was productive. You've made the midpoint here now.
Yes. We got up into 4th place earlier, but we lost 6 minutes on the run before last, which dropped us down to 9th. So
how did that happen?
The engine cut out, and the thermocouple was just cutting out every time we tried to start it. So it was we had to just wait for it all to cool down. But we've made up some time now. We had a pretty good run then, and I think we might get back up to 5th if we push a bit.
That'll be great. You do have 5 runs to do that.
Yeah, we have another 5, so we might do it, but lots of things to go wrong if we're not careful.
And no change for Jason Nicol. He remains in that 8th position overall for now after run 5. Still 9th place for Richard Caddy, and with the conditions getting worse, the times for everyone were going to struggle to be any faster as the day goes on. But a change now as the top 10 is rounded off by Guy Smith. A roll early in the day not denting the confidence much in this new car as he climbs his way back up the leaderboard.
grapevine that there was a bit of a roll this morning.
Yeah, I think I got a little bit carried away. But it rolled right over end and then on its side. But fortunately there was a marshal very close and he helped us push it back over and away we went again.
It's good to have made then the halfway point in the event.
Yeah, we're happy. We just got to keep circulating. It's getting very slippy now in the trees. So it's proceed with caution, I think, this afternoon. But yeah, very good event.
More fun from Minehead after the break. Welcome back to round 5 of the All-Wheel Drive Club Championship.
So with the event past the halfway point now, let's have a look at how the results looked for those that finished. Finishing down in 17th would be Andy Chapman, a result that gets him 6th in Class 8. Pete Downey would take 3rd in Class 7i on his way to 16th overall. And the Freelander of Jason Elphick would take 2nd in that class in 15th position overall. James King would be the next of the Class 8 finishers in 14th, 5th in Class 8. And unfortunately for Keith Lewis, problems throughout the event would rob him of a good result, and it would be 13th overall here at round 5. Having been in the top 10 all morning, it would be a drop down to 12th for Jason Nicol, who does claim 2nd though in Class 7. Steering and brake failure were among the list of problems for Tim Philpott this weekend, which means he just misses out on a top 10 place. He does, however, take the class win in Class 7i. So on to the top 10 now, and Richard Caddy would be the one rounding off that top 10 leaderboard in 10th place. An unfortunate drop, 1 place in the final runs from 9th, but he takes home 4th in Class 8. Third in Class 8 and taking the place of Caddy in 9th overall in the event will be Rob Scone. A good last minute push up the results for him. A few more places gained for Guy Smith as he takes the Class 6i win and moves up into 8th overall, setting some top 10 fastest times in the second half of the day. A place lost for Kenton Riley as he drops down to 7th, but takes 2nd in Class 8. And for Greg Clement, it will be 1st in Class 8, as well as 6th overall. Not a bad position, but a slightly disappointing end to a day where he had been up as high as 4th, until those engine problems hit midway through the event. For Bob Parsons, it was a drop down to 5th, but with it he does take the class win in Class 7. And it's a switch of places for Mark Potts, as he takes up that 4th place vacated by Parsons, a result which ensures he takes 1st in Class 8i too. Onto the overall podium places now, and it would be event sponsor James Tennant to take the final step on the podium, a run which started well and with top 3 fastest times right through the event, but this time the win would have to wait that little bit longer.
James, you were pipped to the post for that 2nd place, but I think you're content enough taking 3rd here today.
Yes, I'm happy enough with that. It's only the 2nd time I've ever been on the podium, and I've been doing this for a lot of years. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. And fair play to Andy. He's starting to get it together with that car, and he is he'll be a future champion, I reckon. But yeah, unfortunately, but no, we went as fast as we could, and you know, you can see maybe there was 1 or 2 places we could have gained a bit, but we were just about as fast as we could go. So I'm very happy to be where we are. It's nice to have a day where we've got back at the sharp end of the field, and going home very happy.
It was such a challenging course today.
Yeah. Bruce has done a fantastic job here. I mean, I've laid out a course here many times myself, and he's seen places here that I hadn't noticed, and he's turned it from a very twisty, Nadgery event into a fast-flowing, proper off-road course. Very challenging. Got to be absolutely precise. There's no room for error anywhere. So we've had a lot of fun today. So proper job.
Another day of suspension changes for Andy Di Giulio in an attempt to get the car set up as best it can be, and second place was certainly a good result to show for those efforts. However, with fellow competitor Rick Mann alongside keeping an eye on Di Giulio for this round, that would mean a disadvantage, possibly, when he gets behind the wheel of his own car again later in the season.
Andy, you've been swapping podium places all day.
Yeah, had a great day. Second, I think, unofficially. I haven't looked at the confirmed results, but yeah, happy with that, really happy, yeah.
So much variety and challenge in that course today.
Yeah, I mean, the weather was wet this morning, slippery, a little bit of a lottery. It was really, really tight at the top. Steve won, yeah. I mean, he was the quickest man today, so he deserves it. I'll be the first one to shake his hand.
But once again, it's a win for Steve Hyatt. The winner of round one secures yet another win to add to his championship campaign, setting him up for a great second half to the season. And we'll take a look at how that is unfolding later in the show.
Steve, congratulations. It's been a while. You've been waiting on that repeat win since the win in the opening round this season.
Yeah, we've had a few problems and issues in the other rounds, or people have just been quicker than us, and this round it was reasonably straightforward, really.
I would have thought it was tough work sitting where we were watching this event, and that leading position did swap hands a couple of times.
Yeah, we all got sort of held up and were then on average times, which made it a bit more complicated, but it is hard work in the trees. You really have to concentrate the whole time, and but yeah, good adrenaline buzz.
So with round 5 complete, the next stop for the all-wheel drive club would be Rally Day at Castle Combe. This annual show is a chance for some of the drivers to take a break from the competition and show the public what they can do, raising the profile of the club, the championship and of course the all-important sponsors. As well as the action on the small rally stage throughout the day, the crew's got a couple of chances to show off the machines on the main infield, including of course a nice big jump to show what these cars are capable of. This is far from a challenge compared to the usual terrain these guys cover, but today would be all about fun. As well as the action, we caught up with championship regular Andy Di Giulio to talk about his career, his car and his reasons for being here at Rally Day.
Andy, no stranger to the 4x4 off-roading. You've been involved in this culture for quite a while.
Yeah, used to come with my parents years ago with the all drive club in the early days, and started racing myself competitively about 10 years ago. Yeah, and moved with it with the last 10 years, yeah.
What gave you the edge to get in there and start competing?
Well, my business is specialising in Land Rovers, and that's always been a passion. Motorsport, being a petrol head, is something I've always been into, so it just worked to promote the business. Obviously Land Rovers being 4x4 vehicles and off-road. My first vehicle was a Land Rover based off-roader, and we've just evolved into these cars that we're racing now.
Yes, the evolution of these cars is something else. I mean, what we see out in the Safari Championship, it's so variant. So what modifications do they make to these types of cars, or, where do they go to acquire these vehicles?
I mean, that's a tricky question. A lot of people build their own. The lower class, well, I'd say the lower classes, there's 8 classes in total, starting from 1 to 8, and obviously the 8 being the most modified cars, where the number 1 is production vehicles. And there's a set of regs which can be downloaded on the All-Wheel Drive Club website, which gives people what they can and can't do. But you've got diesel classes. There's now separate classes for independent suspension, because the suspension is what's making us cover the car, making the cars cover the ground so quick. And now there's various manufacturers of cars that are coming out. I mean, I'm driving a Milner R5. They're based in Matlock. They designed and build these type of car. There's 3 or 4 small bespoke companies building them, but I say it is still a sport where, as long as you do it to the right regs and the MSA Blue Book, you can build your own. I mean, Rick, who's won our championship a few times, he actually built and designed the whole car himself.
As we mentioned as well, you are heavily involved in the Safari Championship this year, so how has that been going for you?
Yeah, really good. I think we're 3rd at the moment overall, 2 points off a 2nd, so it's tight. Yeah, we've got 3 rounds to go, but I've got to stop messing about. I've got to start winning some. If I'm going to win it, I've got to win some.
Well, you're on a recreational day today at Rally Day, and you're all very well represented here.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. I mean, luckily, we was here last year, and it was a little bit wet and miserable, but today the sun's out and the crowds have come, so yeah, no, it's really good. We're pleased to be here. We're just good to support the club, support Rally Day, and hopefully give all the spectators something to look at.
Join the All-Wheel Drive Championship and the Special Stage team at Sweet Lamb on the 14th of October for round 6 of the Terrafirma All-Wheel Drive Club Championship. In the meantime though, we take a look back at the first 4 rounds of this exciting championship. See you after the break. So with the sun shining and plenty of dust in the air to make conditions tricky, it would be Dan and Kim Evans who would open up the early lead in that Milner R5. A great start to the event for the pair. No stranger to a good result on these types of events, it will be 2nd place over the morning's runs for Steve Hyatt. For Andy and Shannon DiGiulio, the dust was slowing progress somewhat. Catching a car in the first run drops them time, but they make it up over the next runs to take 3rd place at this stage in the event. Round 1 event sponsors Chris and Jonathan Bird were certainly on the pace in 4th, the first time out for this brand new Milner R5, and it was looking good so far. Keith and Sally Lewis, another crew being caught out by the dust, but they still managed to set some good times to lie in 5th place for the moment. Unfortunately for Rick and Sandra Mann, it will be an early exit from the event. They crash out on the first run, a disappointing start to their season.
Rick, it's not a good start of the year for you. What's happened?
A bit of a bad one. We pushed too hard on one part of the course and took the wrong line, jumped off quite a steep bank and landed in a hole, and we bent the car and nearly bent myself. So, yeah, not a good start. I think we've got about 4th quickest time, so that's racing. Have to straighten it out and back out for Cambridge.
The afternoon though wouldn't go quite to plan for Chris and Jonathan Bird, the bonnet pins snapping on run 5, resulting in a broken screen and a pretty scary moment, but they do manage to end the event in 4th overall. Overcoming the dust issues earlier in the day meant that it was still an impressive 3rd place finish for Andy and Shannon DiGiulio, just a few seconds off that 2nd position up ahead.
So Andy, you made it to the final podium pace this evening. How's it been?
Excellent, surprise, 3rd overall, so yeah, no, really pleased. Like I said, well, happy anywhere in the top 10, top 5 we was aiming for, and top 3, so yeah, no, can't grumble at all, really good.
So what about the next event now? It's your local event and also you're sponsoring it.
Yeah, I'm sponsoring that round, the Champion of Champions. That's going to be, well, looking to be a cracking event. Yeah, roll on, I mean, we're all really looking forward to it.
A few places gained over the afternoon means that Keith and Sally Lewis stake their claim on the runner-up spot, themselves only a handful of seconds off the top of the podium. Some very close racing here this weekend.
Yes, it's been very good. Yeah, tough going, mate. Oh, very tough going. Dust. Oh,
But yeah, we've had 2 years off, so it's the first event in 2 years, so very rusty. But yeah, 9 seconds off first. I suppose they'll say I haven't lost my touch, but very good, very pleased.
So is this a new car you've got here?
It's new to me, to the old Lamborghini, but I've had this in 3 years. I've done sort of a bit of a season 3 years ago to get the hang of it, and 2 years off, so here we are. So it is technically a new car, yeah.
It will be a well-deserved win at the opening round for Steve Hyatt. A great way to kickstart the season and some good points to take to round 2.
Congratulations, Steve. You won the event by 9 seconds. How's it been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. I only decided to come last Sunday, so it's been a bit of a ordeal getting the car together. My girlfriend and children have been very accommodating, if a bit grumpy at times, so yeah, it's nice to actually come and get a pot for doing it.
We found out as well you had some problems in the last stage.
Yes, last stage it overheated because a button had come out. So we got out of the car, walked round, and then got back in and realised the button was out, and away we went again. So we thought we'd thrown it away, but fortunately not.
Well, congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
So here's a recap of the results from round 1 of the 2012 Terrafirma All-Wheel Drive Club Championship.
Now, in contrast to the opening round, we've had weather warnings around Cambridge this weekend, which is going to make the 7-mile terrain over the military base a lot more challenging for the drivers. There's going to be a lot of standing water there, and there will be poor visibility. So will Stephen Hyatt be able to repeat his victory from the opening round? Let's find out.
Following the disappointment at the season opener last time out, it will be a much better start for Rick and Sandra Mann, opening up a good lead over the first of the day's runs. With the car not ready in time for round 1, this will be the first chance to get some points on the board for Dan Lofthouse in the brutal-looking Freelander. And after showing what the car was capable of last season, this weekend would be about trying a few new things and getting a little more out of the package. Second overall on the first run of the day was a good way to start proceedings. For Steve Hyatt, winner at round 1, it would all be going to plan here too so far. Not quite the lead he enjoyed at the first round, but third overall after the first run was a good way to open up the campaign here at the second round. Event sponsor Andy DiGiulio was one of the many competitors expecting or hoping for sunshine here this weekend, so the first run would be all about settling in and finding that pace. Fourth position suggested he was doing just that on his home event. After some good results on selected events in 2011, Richard Kershaw was back out once again in the Milner R5. Fifth overall after run 1, and with only a handful of seconds separating the entire top 10, the fight was on.
It's evident that conditions are definitely tricky out there, Rick, but you're leading, so in a positive position.
Yeah, it's been 2 good laps so far. It's slippery, same for everybody though. I'm just worried it's going to cut out and turn into a bog out there, and it's just a matter of getting the speed through the bog, keeping the speed where you can around the corners. But it's off-roading. You don't have to run on forest tracks to drive off-road. This is proper off-roading.
You've had no other issues though so far today?
No, I mean we're only running a 3-litre engine, so we're giving away a lot of horsepower and a lot of capacity, but we've got a very light car. It's well set up, and it's suiting it today.
We'd see a few changes over the next few runs, including the conditions, the course getting muddier and now pretty tricky. But there would be no change to the lead of the event, with Rick and Sandra Mann making up for their round 1 non-finish by holding that lead into the final few runs. For round 1 winner Steve Hyatt this weekend was getting better by the run too, moving up one more place into second now and chasing down the leaders. Getting used to being back in the car a little more with each run now meant to climb up the results too for Tim Dilworth and Anthony Brinkman. They climb up a few places from 7th into 3rd now. No change though for Andy DiGiulio and Paul Jones as they remain in that 4th position that they took on run 1. A puncture on the 2nd run of the day not helping them though advance up the leaderboard at this stage. For Keith Lewis it would be 1 place gained over runs 2 and 3, closing in on the event sponsor DiGiulio as the event moves into its final runs. Just missing out on a podium place with the 4th, but they'd held all day, were Andy DiGiulio and Paul Jones, just a few seconds separating them from 3rd place at the end of the 5 runs. But taking that 3rd place and adding this finish to the good result from round 1 are Keith and Sally Lewis, moving up to take that place in the final miles of the event with a late charge. And another move up the results for Tim Dilworth and Anthony Brinkman sees them step up to take the runner-up spot this weekend. A good result for the car on its return to competition this season. A myriad of problems would keep Rick and Sandra Mann on their toes for the final run of the day, not least a complete loss of power steering. But all that wasn't enough to take away that win, the pair taking top honours here at round 2. A great result to make up for their non-finish at the season opener.
Rick, this has got to be a very satisfying win after your non-finish at the opening round in South Wales.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried after that first run, but I think we put the demons to rest here, so we were a little bit lucky though. The last run we lost the electric power steering and also had a drive shaft go, so we actually finished in 3-wheel drive and without any steering, so it was a little bit too close to the win, but yeah, good event. Shame it's quite so muddy, but that's racing.
It didn't take you too much time to build up your confidence after the off in the last round?
No, I think once you think about it, if you think about it too hard, then you won't do it. So, but we've got the right safety equipment. The car's built to the right specifications. And it's a good, strong car. So there's a good team all round looking after the car. So yeah.
So let's remind ourselves of the results at the end of an event where you can't help thinking it shouldn't have been this gruelling. Here's how things stack up at the end of round 2 of the 2012 All-Wheel Drive Club Championship. Taking the early advantage on his second outing this season would be Tim Dilworth. This was despite getting a bit overexcited on the jump and causing some damage to the car for the remainder of that run. With the problem fixed in service, it would be back out to maintain and extend that lead over the 5 runs. Also the second outing of the season for Dan Lofthouse in that Freelander special, and he was going well too. Second place at the end of the first day and chasing down Dilworth. Not much in it, so it was still anyone's at the end of the day. For round one winner Steve Hyatt, it would be a good start too. With Lofthouse and Dilworth not present at round one to challenge him for that win, it would make this round that little bit more competitive. And he was showing the pace was there, but could it remain there for day two? Some good results so far this season for Keith Lewis have been enough to tempt him back round after round, and this event was no different. Fourth place for now, and looking like the car was suiting the course this weekend. No problems on day one for Greg Clement as he climbs up to fifth place. The car and crew working well to get the times they needed to stay in the top half of the results. Bad news for Greg Clement on the second day. He suffers with a failed rear diff on the first run of the day. This drops him into 17th overall and unable to make it up back to the top 10 by the end of this event. No change though for Carl Gudgeon over day two as he remains consistent and manages to hold on to that fifth place he started the event with. And another man with consistency on his mind, Keith Lewis manages a great fourth place finish and adds yet more points to his championship tally for the 2012 campaign. A podium with third for Steve Hyatt was a good finish. Against some stiff competition this weekend, the times were close all weekend. But by the end of day two, he was just unable to make up enough time to take another place. So with no change right at the top of our leaderboard, it would have to be second place for Dan Lofthouse. On the back foot from the early stages, it would be too difficult to get the time back and pull a win out against the leaders. So it's victory here at round 3 for Tim Dilworth. The advantage gained in the early runs would mean it was his event to lose, but with no mistakes and some good times throughout the 2 days of competition, it was a win of almost a minute at the end of 2 days of close racing. With the event now over, here's a reminder of the results at the end of 3 rounds of this exciting championship.
From Doncaster to South Wales, welcome back for round 4 of the Terrafirma All-Wheel Drive Club Championship.
Round 4 would see a dramatic contrast in the conditions compared to round 3. The sun and dust have been replaced with mud and rain, and for Rick Mann, missing from round 3 but fresh from a good result in France, it will be a shock to the system too, though it wasn't stopping him and wife Sandra trying and setting the pace to start the event in the lead.
Rick, 3 runs done now. I think you're pretty happy, are you?
There's a bit more to come. We're doing a bit of suspension tuning, so first run was terrible. Second run we've had suspension guru in, and yeah, we're getting a bit quicker now, so we're getting there.
Okay, and you've taken victory in one of the rounds this year so far, so are you looking to repeat that maybe today?
It's tough out there. It's easy to make a mistake, so I think just get to the end of the rally and end of the race and have a good time. and hopefully be somewhere near.
Failure of that, it does look like great fun out there.
Yeah, it's slippery. You are a bit close to losing it, but it's good fun, yeah.
This lead wouldn't be secure though, with Chris Bird trying his best to beat the man in front and setting consistent second fastest times over the morning's runs. Enough, of course, to set the Milner driver up in second place for now.
Rick took about 10 out of us in the last one. He's on a mission, to be fair to him. So we just got to try and keep it neat and try and pick up the time.
So that's your tactics? Because I don't think you were taking it cautious on the first 2 runs.
No, we've got to really press on, basically, to make sure that we keep him honest.
Did you have any close ones yourself this morning?
Several. All alongside the fence line down there. It's quite sketchy.
For Mark Hones, it would be the ideal start, setting the fastest time on the first run, but unfortunately dropping a few seconds and knocking himself down to third place at the halfway point in this event.
Three runs down, Mark, and you've been putting in some good times this morning, but a problem with the throttle?
Yeah, the throttle adjuster's broken. Snapped. I don't know how or why, but it's broken. But we've got another one, but we've got to go and cut a nice little slot in it to get the throttle cable through. That's being done now, hopefully.
Yeah, you'll have that done in time for the next run?
Hopefully. If not, we might have to skip one run. But I'm sure got a lot of good help, a lot of good friends, so it'll be fixed, without a doubt.
We say it plenty, particularly in this championship, but consistency plays a massive part in any result. And a fourth place start to round 4 is all that Keith Lewis needs to keep his consistent pace and gain some more valuable points this season. Still not backing off though, and the afternoon would give a chance to change these results before the end of this event. Unfortunately for Chris Bird, it would be all he could do to hold on to that third place after losing his second place in that second half of the day. This was still a fantastic result though, and still a podium place as well. Only 12 seconds off the pace of that second place.
Chris, you were pushing on hard, but unfortunately you have dropped down that one place into third.
Yeah, we made a few mistakes and just generally threw it away in the last 2 runs. So, such is life at the end of the day. We tried to push hard to try and keep up with Rick, and it wasn't happening, and we made mistakes which pushed us back into Mark, then beat us on the last one. So, well done to him.
Was it bad luck on the various junctions on that track, or is there something you might change for the next round?
No, it was just me trying to push too hard. We made some mistakes and just lost sort of 5-6 here and there, 5-6 there in other places, and that's all you need to lose. It's quite close to the top.
So for Mark Hones, it would be that second place, putting in some good times throughout the day and managing to take that runner-up spot from Bird in the afternoon.
Well, we could see on that last couple of runs it was definitely a hard charge, and you done what you wanted to do and took that second place.
Yeah, it was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, car performed well, and the little modification we had to do to the throttle adjustment held up. So we put our foot down and go.
Yeah, we spoke to you the last time. You didn't know what you were going to do about this throttle, but it did work out for you in the end.
It's held together well. Yeah, little bodge here and there. So we went for it.
Stuart, what was that last couple of runs like?
Really good, yeah, exciting, rough and ready. It was, yeah, excellent. Everything was great. Yeah, come together, lovely. Yeah, smashing. Good feeling.
And full confidence in your driver?
Excellent. I wouldn't get in there if I hadn't.
But once again, it's Rick and Sandra Mann taking the win, proving that they can put up the fight in all conditions. A win of over 30 seconds at the end of the event would go a little further to proving that they have what it takes to become the champions this season.
Rick, you last competed in France and very little work done to the car since that event, but you've managed to take the win here today.
Yeah, it's been a tough one, probably one of the toughest ones we've done for a long time. Conditions weren't the best. The course cut up very badly. Just had to drive with your head and hopefully get no punctures and didn't get stuck. But yeah, no problems with the car.
Yes, throughout the day the conditions did get a lot deeper and thicker and tougher to make it back here this evening.
I think we were left half the underneath of the car out on the course somewhere, so at least it'll be a little bit lighter next time.
Congratulations on taking the win once again.
Thank you very much.
So here's a reminder of how the top 10 looks at the end of the event.